Welcome to the Doom Scroll News Report on Radio Taiwan International, where I, Amanda Stevens, one lonely writer this week, and a revolving door of wonderful political by necessity guests, cover some of the biggest international news stories dominating our news feeds from the last week. I'm Amanda Stevens, and this week, while Hanna is in the US, I'm tackling why all the Starbucks in Korea are closing for a state-mandated modern history lesson, and how Keir Starmer has now become the most recent British Prime Minister to leave the job. Here to help me review why Starbucks needs that mandatory history lesson is my friend and Monday co-host, Michelle Chiang.
Hey.
Welcome. But I'll say one reason that I tapped you to get in on this story is because you like a good story, and I think that this is that. But also because your family is Korean.
Diaspora?
Yeah.
Chinese diaspora, South Korean.
Yeah.
Kind of, however that works out. And I do very much love coffee.
And you love coffee. I mean, it was kind of like you were like the perfect audience for this. I guess I'm asking because you have spent quite some time in your childhood, at least, in the country, right?
Yes.
I think you've told me about that.
Yeah. I used to go back for every summer vacation, sometimes winters, and then and as an adult, less often because, people get busy.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. Do you know much about Korean history?
Enough.
Do you know about an event called the 1980 Gwangju Uprising?
I mean, there are very significant events that happen in certain countries.
Yeah.
For example, 9/11 in the United States was big enough so that it rippled across the country. So the Gwangju Uprising in South Korea was one. What I know about it is that it was a group of protesters who organized, it was like a liberal democratic uprising against the sitting government. And a bunch of people died. That was actually
a lot of people died.
A lot of people died. I was born in 1982, and they were still talking about it in my youth, which I do remember.
Yeah. So this is a good background. I'm going to give a quick history lesson. I will put a little trigger warning on this because this was a very violent event.
Yes.
And I have a testimony from a nurse at the time, but I'll flag that when I get there. As you said, the Gwangju Uprising is described as an uprising, was a series of student-led protests in the South Korean city of Gwangju, started on May 18th, 1980. So keep that day locked in your head. At the time, South Korea was a military dictatorship.
Yep.
The ultimate goal of these protests was establishing a democracy and ending that dictatorship, along with other associated freedoms, so freedom of the press and freedom of speech, However, almost immediately after the protests began, they were extremely violently suppressed by the South Korean military, using guns, firing on protesters, tanks, crazy stuff.
Yes, explosions. It was bad.
Yeah, trigger warning for the next 10 seconds, because a nurse who was on duty when the victims began arriving at her hospital that day said, quote, "There were bodies strewn across the corridors, mothers screaming as they searched for their children, but it was so chaotic, there was nothing I could do to help them. We didn't even have time to sterilize the medical instruments before taking patients into surgery."
Yeah.
End quote. And I'm saying this a lot because you need this background for what's about to happen. Remember, the story is ultimately about Starbucks. These protests lasted 10 days until they were officially suppressed, with between 600 and 3,000 people killed or disappeared, depending on who's telling the story. The government slandered the protests, claiming that they were essentially paid actors on behalf of North Korea and just rioters and groups of communist sympathizers. This is a myth that still persists to this day because it was only 50 years ago.
Right.
Less than 50 years ago. Still, the event is credited as one of the most important in kickstarting the pro-democracy movement that eventually won out in South Korea. Today, May 18th, is a national holiday of remembrance. So with all that in mind, Michelle, how do you think that Starbucks' May 18th promotional event titled Tank Day went over?
What?
Yes.
What did they call it?
Tank Day.
Oh my God.
It's going to get worse.
That's awful.
Well, awful is not an understatement, Michelle, because the promotion was meant to advertise their new Tank Series tumblers, which I'm assuming hold a lot of liquid. since it's been less than 50 years since that uprising, though, people were not having it.
People who lived through it are still alive.
Yeah.
Very much
They're
so.
like, yeah.
And they're very much like WTF.
Just hours after the promotion was announced, it was canceled, and Starbucks Korea tried to mitigate the damage, but it was too late.
Yeah.
People, justifiably angry, smashed tumblers and mugs, cashed out their cards, canceled apps and loyalty programs, protested outside the store, immediately called for boycotts. The government ministries ended contracts altogether with the company. The CEO fired the same day. And I think like the owner of the company is also now like an indicted criminal for making fun of victims. And the president himself called them low-class peddlers. End quote.
Yeah. May I ask the age of the CEO of Starbucks?
He's old. He's like in his 40s. He should know better.
He should have known better.
He should know better. Now, all of that was made worse because for some reason, the company decided to use the insane slogan, "thwack on the desk." This was the police lie for how a student protester died who was taken in for questioning police torture during the riots. The police at the time claimed that he didn't die from torture, but that the student died because an officer had used his fist to, quote, hit the desk with a thwack, end quote. So, Michelle, how do you think this happened?
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is mind-boggling.
It's when I tried to tell you, it'd be like, I don't know how to make an adequate comparison. It's so insensitive.
It's because you would have to try to create an adequate like comparison.
So how do you think this happened? Because I'll tell you, the CEO who was fired, but not even just yet. So the CEO was fired immediately. I believe he's of an appropriate age. He should have definitely known.
Better.
The one that they have more pictures of is the company owner, because there's basically like some billionaire who owns basically like Starbucks Korea conglomerate.
Right.
Okay. He is, we'll talk about him in a minute, but like he also is definitely like old enough to know.
Right.
He's like our age or older.
Right.
And Korean.
Yeah.
There's no excuse.
But even kids born, I'm going to call them kids, right?
Go ahead.
Like Gen Xers today in the United States know what 9/11 was, even though they weren't born yet.
Like everybody knows what it is. The thing is, like, it's a huge national tragedy.
Exactly. That
still like holds weight because people still witnessed it. People still lost people. Like, and this is the same. Like in my mind, I feel like 9/11 is a North American benchmark. Like that's a good.
It is. It is definitely a North American benchmark. But here's what it is. Why the Gwangju Uprising was, in essence, in my personal opinion, worse because it was kids who died.
Well, not only that, it was the government that did it.
Exactly. It's the government.
It's not a foreign actor coming in.
Exactly.
And like to compare them, like one of them felt so out of the blue and so many Americans just couldn't understand why it would happen. But this is state on citizen violence.
Exactly. It's
like,
your own government. And again, it's your own country.
They're all young people.
An entire generation of what, teenagers and people in their 20s that had massive potential for doing good. And
they were trying. And they were trying to do good.
They were trying to do good. And that's why it's substantially worse of what happened that day. So there is, in my opinion, no way to make a comparison that's fair.
So then let me get into this, because this doesn't seem to have been a deliberate oopsie.
Can it be an accident? Was it an accident?
It seems to be an act of extreme ignorance and ineptitude. An accident. Michelle, the official story that's gone out, is that an employee used an AI chatbot to generate a marketing campaign and slogan. That apparently went unchecked. Managers who signed off on the idea never opened the email attachments to see the marketing contents. They just okayed it and passed it on.
Oh my God.
As I said, the backlash was rapid, and for a month, even associating with the Starbucks brand was social suicide. Yeah. An actor was forced to step away from a production he was in because he shared a photo of himself inside one of the shops. Like, it's been bad. Chung Yong-jin, he's the billionaire chair of the group that owns the company, apologized twice. Once in a written apology, once televised, bowing 3 times. So why are we talking about this today? Because on Monday, June 22nd, starting at 3 p.m., all Starbucks in the entire country are being closed for a mandated history lesson and social sensitivity training. Well, because of this.
Good.
According to The Guardian, the half-day closures will cost Starbucks an estimated 2.1 billion won or $1.4 million in lost sales. Well, my last question is, do you think that this is enough, Michelle?
I do think that a mistake of this magnitude.
My jaw, the number of times my jaw hit the floor reading this reporting, Michelle.
Yeah. There's no way for me to make a comparison that actually would do it justice. But a mistake of this magnitude, Starbucks needs to lose more than 1 point something million dollars. I can't put a number on it, but it has to be much more than that.
I think it's like the number 3 top like food company there. Like they did. I don't know anymore. Previously they did very good business.
Oh, Starbucks is
South
huge.
Korea.
Huge in South Korea.
Starbucks was huge in South Korea. We'll have to see. I don't know what it is now.
I don't know.
I don't know if they've recovered yet. There's also, we're constantly talking about like the short memory of like modern politics. And we're not in Korea, so I don't know.
It's true. But yeah, it should have been a lot more of a plan. Anyway, so no, I don't feel it's enough. I believe 10 times as much is still not enough. For this marketing plan to have gone through, for this whole thing to have gone through is insane.
Yeah, after this, we're going to look at videos of people smashing tumblers with axes because like they were mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good to have it be brought to light and that for other companies to see what it did.
Yeah. Learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, to learn from their mistakes.
Please.
Please.
For the love of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. And to help me unpack this last one, I have invited Eloise Phillips, our resident host from the UK.
Hello.
And Phil, for reasons that will be revealed once I talk about that very last story related to the Prime Minister.
Hi, I'm stepping in for Hanna.
Before I get into this, I just wanted to ask you guys, what is your knowledge on the Prime Minister situation in the UK? And how much do you even keep up with that news? This is a safe space.
Well, I know that the Conservatives, they quickly replaced a lot of leaders in the same way that Keir Starmer is now being replaced.
Yeah.
Like flew through them, and then we've had a Labour government since 2024, and it's not gone so well.
It's had a rocky path. Yeah. Compared to this is a form of government that has multiple different parties, but two that generally lead the race. That's the Conservative Party and the Labour Party.
And it's been Conservative for like the last decade until Starmer came along. But obviously recently there's been a lot of Reform UK, very far-right group. So there's been worries about that.
So that's where you're at.
Yeah,
starting
basically.
This. Phil?
Oh, I agree with everything you said.
I like this.
That's great. Okay, this is good because then you'll be our audience stand-in as someone who doesn't keep up with this news.
Be a neutral guy.
Well, on Monday, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced his resignation as Labour Party leader and therefore Prime Minister. That makes him the 6th Prime Minister the UK has had in 9 years to resign, according to the BBC's Richard Wheeler. While he outlasted the last 2 Conservative PMs for time served, he's the shortest serving Labour Prime Minister to leave.
It's the first time they've committed regicide. I found out it's called regicide.
Yeah, it's basically, so I'll explain what had happened, but it's basically that everybody told him, hey buddy, you're done. Yeah. And he was kind of pushed out from within.
But so it wasn't his decision.
He struggled. No, it wasn't.
It was and it wasn't. It's a little bit complicated. But what I will say is if you look back at when he became Prime Minister, it is a little bit surprising to see that it ended this way. He became the party leader in 2020 and he was appointed Prime Minister in July 2024. So he's just under 2 years now. At that time, Labour won by a landslide victory attributed mostly to frustration with what had been a decade of Conservative Party rule.
Yes.
So what happened? A lot of it boils down to elections and some interpersonal fights and also, I think, a little bit of bad luck. So Sir Keir, I found out that's how he's referred to. His party has been losing popularity for some time now, kind of like a slow decline, but especially in the last 6 months. And so basically in the last round of local elections, they had very big losses.
Yeah.
That was a big loss of face. But earlier this year, he also lost face for appointing Peter Mandelson as his U.S. ambassador because he was later found to be in the Epstein files. Mandelson has since been fired. Sir Keir also lost some important allies besides that. I don't know that he was really ever allies with Mandelson, but his association was pretty just like bad business for him. He lost Wes Streeting, the health secretary, and the defense secretary, John Healey, both resigned. One of them as a direct result of the elections. They were so bad that he was like, I'm out. And he took a whole bunch of junior ministers with him. Then on top of that, / because of all of these things, that's where all of this internal pressure came from his party. That was basically telling him like he needed to step down to make space for this new guy, Andy Burnham, who people believe is basically the right guy to be the new face of the party. And so this is, as you said, the regicide of it all, where there hasn't been one big like failing policy like in the US, if you maybe got into like a war overseas, that was really unpopular and everybody hated you for it. But it's kind of been like a slow decline into we don't feel like you're the right person to lead the party, which is what he said during his resignation speech, that he was basically stepping down because he didn't feel he was right for the job.
After a bit of a fight, though, like he did, he stayed there for, And
I think this is what's surprising, because before that resignation, he had actually said directly that he was going to fight people who wanted him to step down, that he wanted to stay in this leadership position. There have been like murmurings about like these backroom talks, which we now know did happen. But I think a lot of people are kind of caught off guard then by him saying, I've changed my mind.
Yeah. And I think also once it happens, it's very hard, like as we saw with the Conservatives, it will happen in succession. Again, like now, can the next leader be a legitimate leader? Like, we don't know anything about this. Well, sorry, I don't know anything about Andy Burnham's policies. And like, this is not the people's choice, the people's vote. So,
well, let me ask you guys this. This was going to be my first question. This isn't something that was left up to vote. This is all something that's happening internally in politics. It's all political backrooming. Do you think that this is the right choice for Starmer, just based on the information you heard now, to step down in the face of this internal pressure? And to be fair, some external pressure as well, looking at how his party performed in like recent elections.
With everything taken into account, kind of makes sense, and it was bound to happen sooner or later. But I think in politics as a whole, I don't think this is like having this whole step down, like reappoint leader thing helps at all. I think the whole point is we need like some sort of steady leadership for at least 3-4 years.
I mean, 2 years is a very short turnaround time. It's very hard to get any big policy done.
Exactly.
I've even heard people be critical of like the United States 4 years in the past. That like when you're not like the sole Unitarian leader, it's hard to get a big agenda like healthcare or something else reformed in that amount of time.
Exactly.
Let alone 2 years.
So I think the last thing we need is another change of leadership. It's like, it's all very, they're in their own bubble. It's all this like internal contest, and meanwhile all the other things are happening outside in society, which it's just, it seems very
removed.
Removed, exactly.
Yeah, because most of the things people are deciding about, they don't necessarily experience them directly.
Exactly.
So they don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
But as an uninterested observer, I'm just trying to think, like, you get into the position, and obviously seeing it from the outside and being actually in the power is completely different, right? Is it really that he was like incompatible with the people around? Was he very incompetent so that they like made him realize that, and then he admitted like, oh, I'm really not good for the job? Or was he like facing so much struggle and pressure that he was just like, this is not worth it, like I don't want to fight these people because it's just taking all my free time, like I don't have time for anything else besides deciding stuff? So I don't really see the whole
Maybe
picture.
he felt
obviously,
like he was running out of time to like legislate, so to speak.
Exactly.
Because he's so busy having these like backroom fights.
At some point, it's just like, I don't know the whole thing, but I would be also like, I'm out.
Yeah. And if everybody's lost confidence in you, then
what's there to
it's
prove?
just fighting a losing battle at the end of the day. Yeah.
Very briefly, there is no timetable for what will happen next. But it's expected that Andy Burnham, this guy that we've been talking about, is going to take the vote to become the next PM. I say take the vote, but that may not actually be necessary. To get into him, he used to be the mayor of Manchester before, maybe even just a week ago or a few days ago, when he became a member of parliament or an MP, specifically so that he could be eligible to become prime minister. That was this exact play that people have said. Someone stepped down for him to take it. He won it in a landslide election. He's very popular at the moment. He has a lot of support. But from what I can tell, just from my research this week, not a lot of high-level experience because he's never been a parliamentarian before. It's not necessary to have that, but it is interesting to see it, right? There would normally be a voting process that he would need to clear with a certain level of approval, but some analysts are saying that that might not matter because if he runs unopposed, which seems likely because his biggest rival pulled out after speaking to him recently, he will just get it automatically. He'll be unopposed.
This I was not aware of. Okay.
Yeah. So do you guys think that a popular new face is what is needed to turn around Britain's luck? Or do you think this is a hasty fix to a deeper institutional problem?
Is it plaster on a, Band-Aid?
It's okay. We're talking about British politics. You're allowed to say what you want.
Thanks. Yeah, I have to admit, like I said, I don't know his Andy Burnham's policies and all this, so I'm willing to give him a chance.
That's true though, because he actually hasn't put out any formal policies because he's never had these positions. It's not any kind of official plan yet, even. Yeah. So there's a reason why you don't know is because that information hasn't been put out in a very concrete way.
He didn't have to.
I can't see it going well.
But that's not where I wanted to end this. I wanted to have a little bit of an upper. So this is going to be our last story that I didn't tell anybody about because this was just in my secret heart of hearts.
Surprise.
It's a surprise. Phil, this is what I think you would be an expert in. Eloise, quick question, trivia. Where does the Prime Minister live?
Number 10 Downing Street.
Correct. Phil, is there anything outstanding about that place?
Is there anything interesting about the place?
Many things.
Well, let me tell you about my favorite. His name is Larry, the Chief Mouser of Downing Street.
Oh, I was going to say this. The cat.
Yes.
Okay.
What?
I was going to say that.
So there is a cat called Larry who has an official, quote unquote, official government position as the Chief Mouser of the Prime Minister's house or the Chief Mouser of Downing Street.
Let me get this straight. The cat has been there longer
Let
than
me tell you the story,
6
Phil.
people.
This is why you're the expert. He's a scruffy tabby who has lived there since 2011. So yes. He's also had his fair share of gossip and political scandal, including that he wasn't actually doing his job, even being called Lazy Larry by the tabloids, which has
sounds like my
since
cat.
then supposedly been disproven. And he has publicly documented beef with other government cats, including Freya, the Treasury tabby, and a deep ongoing bad blood with Palmerston, the Foreign Office tuxedo cat. However, say what you will, Larry has notably outlasted all prime ministers since 2011.
Unsurprising.
Yes.
So technically, Larry should be the next prime minister.
He has outlasted now 6 prime ministers. There are videos of him, just after the announcement that Keir Starmer was going to resign, being let out and then waiting on the doorstep and being let back in 5 minutes later while crowds of reporters are outside 10th Downing Street talking about Keir Starmer's resignation. And Larry seems completely unbothered by the revelation. The final question is kind of a twofold. One, how do you guys feel about an assigned residence coming with an assigned animal? And also, do you think that Larry has had a favorite prime minister?
Yes. I think he's behind this.
Yeah, he's orchestrating it.
He's Andrew's boy.
Oh, gosh. I feel like he is unbiased and he's just so unfazed by it all because he's seen it all before and he's just I'm just going to catch my
Nothing's
mice
gonna change,
and it's all going heading the same way.
The most honest person in British politics right now.
To your first question, that's a very good thing to have residence with a pet, but I would go with a dog. As the owner of 2 cats, I don't think they're suitable to be there.
See, this is why you were the expert. You have 2 cats.
They're not very helpful towards the whole thing. They're more I'm going to live my little bubble.
Are you buying into the Lazy Larry accusations with this?
It's an act.
What's an act? The lazy act?
Yeah, they can be not lazy, but they pretend to be lazy in order to get some benefit.
Yeah.
So it's orchestrated.
You think this goes all the way down?
Oh, all the way down. There's a chain behind it, and Larry might be the conductor himself.
Unfortunately, that's it for today's news report. A quick reminder that you can find all of our referenced articles in the show notes for today's episode, including a photobiography of Larry's illustrious career at Downing Street and some of his less illustrious escapades. I'm Amanda Stevens, and special thanks to Michelle Chiang, Leskovsky, and Eloise Phillips for joining me on air today. Tune in tomorrow for more programs by Radio Taiwan International, and in the meantime, remember to stop scrolling and touch grass. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.